Okay, we continue our reading in Genesis. This will be Genesis chapter 15. Abram desires offspring. The Lord promises him seed in number as the stars. He believes the promise. His seed shall be strangers in Egypt. Then, after 4 generations, they shall inherit Canaan. Okay, verse 1. After these things, the word of the Lord came unto Abram in a vision, saying, Fear not, Abram. I am thy shield, and thy exceeding great reward. And Abram said, Lord God, what wilt thou give me, seeing I go childless? And the steward of my house is this Eliezer of Damascus. And Abram said, Behold, to me thou hast given no seed, and lo, one born in my house is mine heir. And behold, the word of the Lord came unto him, saying, This shall not be thine heir, but he that shall come forth out of thine own bowels shall be thine heir. Okay, so what this is saying here is first Abraham is getting old, he doesn't have any children. And he's saying, okay, so who's going to inherit? Who's going to continue my name? And his steward, or the head servant of his house, is a man named Eliezer of Damascus. Now, I doubt this is the same Damascus that we see later on in the Bible, but anyways, because Abraham has no children as of yet, the rightful heir to his title, his name, would be the head or the son of his head steward, one born as a son born in my house. Because again, Abraham was a great man. He had many servants, many people that he ruled over. But the Lord is promising that Abraham will have actual genetic posterity, not just somebody who inherits from him. So verse 5, And he brought him forth abroad, and said, Look now toward heaven, and tell the stars, if thou be able to number them. And he said unto him, So shall thy seed be. Of course, the term tell the stars, that means count. And he believed in the Lord, and he counted it to him for righteousness. And he said unto him, I am the Lord that brought thee out of Ur of the Chaldees, to give thee this land to inherit it. And he said, Lord God, whereby shall I know that I shall inherit it? And he said unto him, Take me an heifer of 3 years old, and a she-goat of 3 years old, and a ram 3 years old, and a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. And he took unto him all these, and divided them in the midst, and laid each piece one against another, but the birds divided he not. Okay, there is a Joseph Smith translation here, starting on verse 6. So that was, and he believed the Lord and counted it for righteousness. So let us read this Joseph Smith translation. Starting here. And Abram said, Lord God, how wilt thou give me this land for an everlasting inheritance? And the Lord said, Though thou wast dead, yet am I able to give it thee. And if thou shalt die, ye shalt possess it. For the day cometh that the Son of Man shall live. But how can he live if he be not dead? He must first be quickened. And it came to pass that Abram looked forth and saw the days of the Son of Man, and was glad, and his soul found rest. And he believed in the Lord, and the Lord counted it unto him for righteousness. Now, that is a pretty good addition here. That the entire verse 6 has been expanded. And I like that. He says, we're going to give you this land. But Abraham's getting old. He said, wait a minute. How am I going to have this land if I'm dead? And well, how can it be everlasting? I'm not going to be everlasting. I'm not going to live forever. I'm going to die eventually. How can it be an everlasting inheritance? And so God showed him a vision of the mortal ministry of Christ and the resurrection. And Abraham said, now I understand. I will live forever. and he believed. But then we get this again, the inherit the land. So let us step back to verse 7 again. And he said unto him, I am the Lord that brought thee out of Ur of the Chaldees, to give thee this land to inherit it. And he said, Lord God, whereby shall I know that I shall inherit it? And he said unto him, Take me an heifer of 3 years old, and a she-goat of 3 years old, and a ram of 3 years old, and a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. And he took unto him all these, and divided them in the midst, and laid each piece against another. But the birds divided he not. So he cut them in half. He killed them, cut them in half, except the birds. He did not cut the birds. And when the fowls came down upon the carcasses, Abram drove them away. And then when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and lo, and horror of great darkness fell upon him. And he said unto Abram, Know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterward shall they come out with great substance. And thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace. Thou shalt be buried in a good old age. But in the 4th generation they shall come hither again, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. And it came to pass that when the sun went down and it was dark, behold, a smoking furnace and a burning lamp that passed between those pieces. In the same day the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying, Unto thy seed have I given this land, from the river of Egypt unto the great river, the river Euphrates. The Kenites and the Kenizzites and the Cadmonites and the Hittites and the Perizzites and the Rephaims and the Amorites and the Canaanites and the Girgashites and the Jebusites. So, this, of course, is a prophecy of the Egyptian captivity that would come onto the Israelites. But there's a couple of things to note here, which I will probably bring up in more detail when we get to the story of the Exodus. But it says, first, Abraham will go to his grave at an old age and in peace. His descendants would become slaves. They would serve 400 years, and after 4 generations, they would come out. The problem is that the 4 generations, if you look at the timeline given in the Bible itself, which you can calculate because of the ages given for Levi and his descendants down to Moses, we can calculate how long it was from the time that they entered Egypt till the time they came out, and it's only about 200 years. And it is 4 generations. You have Levi, I honestly can't remember Levi's son's name, then you have Amram and Moses. Levi, I think it's Korah. Levi, Korah, Amram, Moses. 4 generations that are in Egypt, and they come out. In those 4 generations, only 200 years pass. So the 400 years is not talking about the time that they are in Egypt, or at least not only the time they are in Egypt, but it's talking of the time from Abraham until the Exodus. It is 400 years from the time that from the time that God makes his covenant with Abraham and promises to give him the land. 400 years after that, the Israelites come out of Egypt and conquer the land of Canaan. And we will find that they do. All these people that are listed are conquered by the Israelites. So, just wanted to point that out. And again, I'll talk about it. I think I did a video a long time ago about it, and so I may just add a link to it in the description, and probably talk about it again later. But anyways, I'll leave it there.